Hello everyone and welcome to Retail Archaeology. Today we'll be taking a look at Flagstaff Mall in Flagstaff, Arizona. Let's take a quick look at the mall directory, and as you can see here, it's not a very big mall. It's only got 3 anchor buildings, 2 of which are currently occupied. I'm sure you can pretty easily guess which one of them is no longer occupied. This mall is only a single floor and a little less than 350,000 square feet in size. Now, surprisingly, they had paper copies of the map. I haven't seen paper mall maps in a very long time. This was pretty cool to see. And of course, I'm going to keep it. Before we get much deeper into our tour, I'd like to mention that this episode's music was provided by Incarta 95. And if you enjoy this music, I'll put a link down in the description below so you can check out more of Incarta 95's sweet jams. Now, this is a mall that I've gotten several requests from viewers to cover on the channel. I've gotten a lot of messages about this being a dead mall, a dying mall, a very empty and depressing mall. And I have to say, there really is a severe lack of customers here, although there is still surprisingly a large amount of stores still open, including a lot of national chains. Let's take a quick trip outside to see some of the exterior of the mall, and this is the empty anchor building that I alluded to earlier, and you can see some of the label scars still there. This was the Sears, and this was one of the original anchors, and it just recently closed in November of 2018. And here's the JCPenney, another original anchor to the mall, and this store is still open, although it was pretty empty inside. I'm sure you've noticed all the snow on the ground. This was actually filmed in the middle of January, between noon and 2 in the afternoon on a Sunday. And here's the last anchor, the Dillards. This was actually a really cool store on the inside, and we'll see some footage of the interior later on in the video. I have to say though, I do like the exterior of the mall. I like these entryways. Very cozy and inviting. This mall also has a Denny's. I've never seen a Denny's actually attached to a mall before. And this Denny's might have been the busiest store in the mall. You know how some Denny's locations are gross and some are good? This must be one of the really good ones since it was so busy. Here's the interior door to the Sears. You can see they've pulled the Sears signage down completely. And right next to it is another dead mall staple, a GNC. Here's a look inside the Sears. This anchor may not be empty for very long. I have heard rumors that a Ross or a Gym may be going in here. Now, surprisingly, even though it was the middle of January, they still had their Christmas decorations up. I think these animatronic bears are a pretty neat and elaborate set of Christmas decorations for a struggling mall. And I'm one of those guys that's a sucker for Christmas, so it was actually pretty neat to see some Christmas decorations still up. This mall was originally developed by Westcor and is currently managed by Cypress Equities. It opened in 1979, but I have to imagine it's been renovated since then. For example, this tile looks more late 80s or early 90s, but I couldn't find any of the actual renovation history in my research. I have mixed feelings about actually calling this mall a dead mall. It looks very dead as far as there not being really anybody walking around. It looks very much like a lot of other dead malls I've been in, but like I mentioned, there's still a good amount of open stores. There's a lot of empty spaces as well, but there's still some big national chains in here like GameStop, Zoomies, Claire's, for example. So maybe calling this a zombie mall is more appropriate, or a mall that doesn't know it's dead yet. It doesn't seem like the future is looking bright for this mall. For example, it has one empty anchor right now, and another one of its anchors is JCPenney, which is another retailer that's having a lot of struggles right now. An increased amount of store closures is something that viewers that requested I cover this mall have noted, so I would be really interested to come back here in about a year and see what it looks like then. Now here's the Dillards, and this actually did not open with the mall. The Dillards opened in 1986. And as you can see from the flooring and the carpet, it hasn't been updated since 1986, and I love that wood parquet flooring. That's actually something I've seen in quite a few older Dillards, and I'm glad to see it here, and it seems like it's reasonably well maintained. Doesn't that flooring just scream 1986? Dillards always seems to have some of the most visually interesting stores I go into. Even the mirrored finish on the jewelry and perfume counters is just peak 80s department store aesthetic. I wouldn't expect a Sunday afternoon to be as busy as a Saturday afternoon, but I expected to see many more shoppers than this. I really do think this is a cool little mall, so I hope they can turn things around. And you know I got to include a shot of some of the skylights. Oh look, and some actual shoppers carrying a bag. That's good. Here's one of the increasing number of empty shops here. And it looks like they're using it to display some art projects from local students. If one of these is yours, congratulations, it's been immortalized in one of my Dead Mall videos. Let's take a look at the food court, and this mall, because it's a small mall, also has a kind of small food court. And you can see not a lot of people dining here. Just a family or two, that's it. Now, a lot of people ask, do I spend money at these malls when I'm here? And I usually at least eat at them. You can see here I got a fully loaded hot dog from this place, New York Hots, and it was actually really, really good. I would highly recommend this place if you happen to visit this mall. And I will say too, the guys running the place were super friendly, as was pretty much everyone else working at this mall. If people are watching this video 15 or 20 years from now, I'm sure they'll get a good chuckle at that anti-vaping ad there. And here's a welcome sight, an arcade at the mall. I love that these are starting to pop back up again in malls. And this one's actually a pretty decent size and thankfully has some real video games in it. I do like the Time Crisis games quite a bit. There are a lot of skill cranes and stuff in here though as well. And the obligatory 60-in-1 retro arcade. The unfortunate thing was though, a lot of these games were out of order. Like, I probably would have played House of the Dead if it was working. There's something just really nostalgic about being in a mall arcade. They had all but disappeared for a lot of years, and like I mentioned, it's really great that they're making a comeback again. I hope it's just not a short-lived comeback. Man, I wish I could have played House of the Dead. I think mall food courts tend to be a pretty good sign of a mall's health, and it's definitely not good when there's this few people in one on a Sunday afternoon right in the middle of lunchtime. We're getting towards the end of our tour of Flagstaff Mall here, so I want to ask you, do you have any memories of shopping at Flagstaff Mall? And if you do you think it's on a downward spiral? Certainly seems that way to me. As always, everyone, thanks for watching. Want to see your name here? Head on over to patreon.com/Retail Archaeology to find out how you can help support the channel. Hey everyone, thanks for checking out my video on Flagstaff Mall. If you enjoyed it, make sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons, and also make sure to follow at the social media links there because that's the best way to keep up with what's going on with the channel.